There are bad cars, and then there are cars so unreliable they've become legendary for all the wrong reasons. Some burst into flames, others fall apart without warning, and a few were so dangerous they probably should have never left the factory. These are the cars that made mechanics rich and drivers regret everything. Here are the top 10 least reliable cars ever made. 10. Fiat 500L. The Italian headache. Fiat's quirky 500L may look harmless, but it's a walking disaster in disguise. Even before you deal with any mechanical issues, this car will frustrate you with its broken infotainment system that seems to reboot more than your old Windows laptop. Then come the clogged particulate filters, which are just expensive ways to say your engine's about to choke. And don't even think about skipping a service. These engines are so sensitive, you'd swear they were built out of pasta. Reliability? Let's just say the only thing consistent is how often it breaks. It's like the car is actively trying to sabotage your morning commute. In Italy, they say bella macchina, but this one's more like brutta sorpresa, ugly surprise. 9. Triumph Stag. Looks great, runs never. A classic British roadster with a V8 engine sounds like a dream, but the Triumph Stag turned that dream into a breakdown on the side of the road. The V8 might have looked impressive on paper, but in reality, it was as fragile as your grandma's porcelain figurine collection. Timing chains failed so often, some owners carried spares in the trunk. The aluminum heads warped like a vinyl record left in the sun, and the cooling system was about as effective as blowing on the engine with a straw. Owning this car meant developing a very close relationship with your mechanic, and while it looked great parked, you quickly learned that's all it was good for. Honestly, this wasn't a car, it was a very stylish paperweight. 8. BMW X5. Luxury meets constant repairs. You'd think luxury would come with reliability, but not with the BMW X5. No matter which model year you pick, there's a buffet of problems waiting for you. Oil leaks, faulty electronics, and transmission issues are all on the menu. And since it's a BMW, every repair comes with a bill that'll make your eyes water. Want to adjust your seat settings? Good luck. There's a 50-50 chance the electronics won't even respond. It's the kind of car where the check engine light is basically just background decoration. And the real kicker? People still buy them. It's like willingly dating someone with a bad track record, because hey, they look good in photos. 7. DeLorean DMC-12. Back to the tow truck. Immortalized by Back to the Future, but infamous in real life. The DMC-12 had style, gull-wing doors, stainless steel body, but under the hood, it was a total disaster. It was so underpowered, you'd have better acceleration riding a bike with a tailwind. The suspension was so poor that wheels could literally detach. That's not a joke. This car was so unsafe, even Doc Brown wouldn't drive it without a flux capacitor to escape. It looked futuristic, but in reality, it was a barely functioning concept car shoved into production. Let's be honest, this thing should have stayed in 1955 where it belonged. 6. Ford Pinto, the Firestarter. It looked innocent, but in a rear-end collision, the Pinto was a rolling fire hazard. Ford decided to place the gas tank in the most flammable position possible, right behind the rear bumper with next to no protection. So when you got rear-ended, there was a good chance your afternoon ended in flames. Literally. Engineers knew it was a problem, but calculated that lawsuits would be cheaper than a recall. That's not a dark joke. That actually happened. It might have been the only car where a fender bender could turn into a full-blown action movie explosion. In the 70s, this wasn't just transportation. It was a gamble with your life. 5. Dodge Ram 3500. The big truck with bigger problems. Looks tough, sounds tough, brakes like a twig. The Ram 3500 might seem like the kind of truck you'd take to the apocalypse, but it can barely handle the Home Depot parking lot. Its suspension is about as sturdy as wet cardboard, and the electronics are so unreliable you'll start blaming ghosts. Transmission failures are common, and when that goes, you're not driving anywhere except to the nearest bankruptcy court. It's the kind of truck that wants to be heavy duty, but ends up being heavy drama, and thanks to Fiat's involvement, it's basically an Italian opera on wheels. Loud, dramatic, and ends in tragedy. Big engine, big attitude, and even bigger repair bills. 4. Ford Explorer 90s. The SUV that could flip over back in the 90s, the Explorer was everywhere, including upside down. This SUV had a dangerously high center of gravity paired with a sketchy suspension setup, making it easier to flip than a pancake on Sunday morning. Combine that with vague steering and you've got a rolling disaster. Literally, it didn't help that Ford pretended everything was fine, while customers were spinning like they were in a washing machine. Some models were so unstable you didn't need an off-road trail to have an adventure. Just a sharp turn. If you wanted thrill rides, you didn't have to go to Six Flags. Just take this thing on a freeway ramp. 3. Maserati Biturbo. Twin turbos, triple the trouble. A Maserati with twin turbos sounds like a dream until it catches fire. The Biturbo looked exotic and promised performance, but it turned out to be a maintenance nightmare dressed in leather. The engine had a nasty habit of overheating, and the build quality was more garage experiment than Italian excellence. Parts failed so frequently you'd think the car was made of rejected toaster components. And despite all that, it wasn't even that fast, unless you count how fast your wallet emptied. If this car were a person, it'd be that charming liar who ruins every dinner party. It's not just unreliable, it's practically a cautionary tale. 2. Pontiac Fiero, the budget sports car that caught fire. It had the looks of a Ferrari and the safety of a campfire. The Fiero was GM's attempt at a mid-engine sports car for the masses, and they nailed the design. Unfortunately, they also nailed the part where it spontaneously combusted. The oil system leaked onto hot engine components, turning a fun little car into a mobile bonfire. GM knew about the issue before launch and just kinda shrugged. Over 250 Fieros caught fire, which is not a great stat unless you're a pyromaniac. Cool styling, futuristic concept, but in practice, it was just a flashy fire hazard. 1. Lancia Beta, rust in peace. If you're looking for a car that dissolves before your eyes, meet the Lancia Beta. This Italian sedan earned its infamy by rusting faster than you could say ciao. And it wasn't just surface rust. These things rusted structurally to the point where some literally snapped in half. Rumor has it Fiat used low-grade Soviet steel, but the real culprit was just total neglect in rust proofing. Buying a Beta was like adopting a beautiful puppy that immediately ate your house and died on the couch. It was supposed to continue Lancia's rally legacy. Instead, it buried it under a pile of flaky metal. A shame, really. If you parked one outside for a year, you'd come back to find a pile of dust and a registration plate. So there you have it. 10 cars you should never trust with your life, your wallet, or even your driveway. Whether it's fire hazards, rusted frames, or mystery malfunctions, these are the vehicles that taught drivers painful lessons in regret. Which car do you think deserves the #1 spot? Drop a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe for more car content you won't regret.